Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the nerdy news from the Well of the Souls to the Rock of Eternity and everywhere in between. Happy Pride Month. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great here, Mike. Can't really complain. And, you know, like you mentioned, happy Pride Month. I would say we just dive right into it because there was a ton that happened this week.
Yeah, there was nothing like enormous. There was no like huge casting or huge like movie announcement necessarily, but there was like a lot of like, I guess there was like at least one casting thing we're going to talk about, but there was a lot, I don't know, there was a lot of like little or middle to smaller news pieces that we're going to kind of dive into here, and some things that we ended up having to leave off the rundown because it just started getting full. Like this was like a week where I really thought it was going to be slow, and then it started picking up towards the end of the week. But all right, like you said, diving right in with some new suits. Got two glimpses of some new / old suits for some upcoming DC properties or DC films. We got some set photos that leaked of a new Shazam suit for the Shazam sequel, Shazam Fury of the Gods. Zachary Levi is getting an upgraded suit. It's not incredibly different. There are some significant differences. I think the boots are a little more stylized. The gauntlets are more stylized. The biggest difference, lightning bolt on the chest doesn't light up. Some people were very happy about that, I guess. I kind of liked it that it lit up. I don't know. It was
a thing. Like, and in the tone of Shazam, it's like, okay, cool. Like, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not everything needs to be dark and brooding.
Yeah. But those set photos leaked, and then like the day after that, or maybe even the same day, we got an official tease of the new suit, but no actual official look at the new suit. The director David Sandberg posted a short video of like kind of really dark, shadowed, up close glimpses of the chest and the gauntlets and the boots, and ended with a joke of Zachary Levi saying, "Hey, can someone turn on a light?" or something like that, because you couldn't. It was still in shadow. You couldn't really see a full glimpse of the suit. So I feel like usually when there's a set leak, you get an official look at it pretty soon after that. So a little weird that they gave us an official tease when we already saw the leaked photos, but then didn't give us an official good look at it. I don't know why they're waiting for that, but
yeah, you know, tease the leak and then keep you in suspense for longer and longer. That was like what was it last week? The Black Adam reveal that they tossed out there on Twitter that was literally just Dwayne Johnson in a hood.
Yeah, like, just a shroud.
Cool. Yeah, like that's great. Cool, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Yeah, super exciting to see a cloak, a black cloak. Like great.
Now, then again, we did also get, you know, him voicing various animated characters in the same day.
Crypto the Superdog. Yeah, so that's true. That's true. Yeah. So we got that look. I'm excited about that. I loved the movie Shazam. I think it's great. So I'm excited about where they're going from there.
Yep.
And you know, it's not uncommon for, you know, a hero to get upgraded, slightly tweaked costumes, movie to movie, without really any reasoning, in-world reasoning as to why they have a different costume all of a sudden.
Yeah, like,
but I don't know. I remember when. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say Batman's the only one that ever has a reason because, you know, various people are just constantly upgrading his crap. But like, why does Superman ever change his suit? Did he happen to slice it somewhere, or like need to go to a new tailor? Or well, it's like Invincible, where Omni-Man has a specific tailor. Like, does Superman do various other superheroes just have a guy who makes their suits?
Yeah, I would love to see that explored in the MCU, in the Marvel world, because they are constantly getting upgraded and tweaked suits.
Always.
Mostly for no reason at all. Like Iron Man is the only one that makes sense that he was upgrading, you know, constantly different, you know, Mach 1, Mach 38 or whatever.
Yep.
Like Captain America, new Captain America suit in every movie. Don't really explain why. They just keep giving him new suits. Black Widow has new suits all the time. Just no
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. Like Cap, I get the upgrade from 1940s to now. Like that one made sense. Beyond that, you probably don't need to iterate that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when there were set photos of the original Shazam suit leaked before the first movie came out, and there was like a big uproar because people thought it was like, if I'm remembering it correctly, people were claiming it's too red. I was like,
Wow.
hey, have you ever read a comic book? Like, it looks like Shazam. Shazam is bright red. Like, what do you want? I
Right.
don't know why. Not everything's got to be like dark and gritty. What are you talking about? Shazam's a fun character. Anyway, I haven't seen any of that for this suit, so I guess that's good. Who knows? I guess there's people that don't like a lighter take on Shazam and want all their superhero movies to be super dark, so can't please everybody. But I know. I thought it looked great. I'm looking forward to an official release or official photo, I guess, to see all the differences, if there are any. What I'm more excited about, just because I'm a Batman fan, I guess, but like it's not, I doubt this is going to be too different, but the tease that was released, anyway, I'm talking around it too much. Let's just jump into it. Director of The Flash, Andy Muschietti, posted a picture on his Instagram that was just a picture of the Michael Keaton Batman chest piece, the insignia on specifically what it looked like the Batman Returns style bat suit. Another indicator that Michael Keaton is in fact in this movie. He was rumored to be in it, then he was confirmed to be in it. We still haven't seen any set photos, but this is like the first glimpse of classic, nostalgic looking Michael Keaton, Tim Burton bat suit. The one difference here was that there was a splatter of blood on the bat insignia. I don't know whose blood it was. We don't know. There was no caption on the picture. Very exciting, though, to say the least. Lots to speculate about. Whose blood is that? Why is there blood on it? Did somebody die? Did someone get hurt? Why? Who's bleeding? Also, a lot of speculation because it was a very similar image to something that came out of the comic books in pretty recent years. Tom King, the beginning of Tom King's run on Batman, there was a story called The Button, in which the famous comedian's Button from the famous Watchmen series showed up in the Batcave, and there was a whole Flash multiverse thing going on. It was the beginning of them. They were starting a run called Doomsday Clock, which was meant to bring in the Watchmen characters into the main DC universe. I don't know if that ended up being canon by the time Doomsday Clock ended, because there was a lot of delays with that, and I certainly haven't seen Dr. Manhattan popping up in the general DC universe since then, so I don't really know what happened with it. I never read Doomsday Clock, but
they did in the Watchmen TV series. They did reference various things revolving around a Doomsday Clock and stuff like that. So
it's true, and they did reference Superman in the series, and the series is canon from what I know as far as what's going on currently with the Tom King Rorschach series.
Even if it wasn't canon, it was a hell of a lot better than the movie, so we'll go with it.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, people are speculating that because this is the Flash movie and there's a Batman tie-in and it's got the little blood splatter, it's not like it looked exactly like the blood splatter on the Button from Watchmen, but there's enough commonality there for people to speculate. And whether it's just a visual cue or they're going to take beats from that story, I don't know, but it makes sense considering the characters involved that this would be a reference to that story in some way. Do you have any theories, speculation, excitement about this image or movie or anything like that?
I don't know. It has to either it has to have either been done for some sort of nostalgic callback to the Watchmen or specifically to the Button, like that, like you're saying. Like, there's no way that photo was an accident, or that way they took that was just, oh, we're gonna splash some blood on the Batman insignia. Like, it was just eerily similar, so there's got to be some sort of tie there.
I think it's because it was just a little bit. Like, it wasn't like that could have been a whole chest piece just splattered with blood. Right. It was just a little bit,
just enough for that one
just
quarter,
a little bit.
And,
is what's making everybody think about the Watchmen tie-in. I don't think this movie is going to tie into Watchmen at all. I could be wrong, because all all speculation is that this is going to be the way that DC opens up their multiverse. They're going to tie things together. Like they stated months ago, about a year ago, probably, they said everything's connected. Everything exists in, you know, the Michael Keaton universe, the Christian Bale universe. It all exists just in different universes.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel has since said something like that, and they're going to do that with Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. You know, so both companies are opening up their multiverse cinematically.
Yep. Which
I have slightly mixed feelings on. I mean, I'm a big Batman fan, so I'm excited about Michael Keaton, seeing Michael Keaton again. Do I necessarily want him? There's been, when they announced him, there were stories that, oh, he's going to be the new Batman, the main Batman in like the DC universe. I don't think I want that. I would rather have a younger Batman that's like, I would rather it be Robert Pattinson. I would rather them like bring him in if they're going to redo Justice League or something like that. But I don't know. I also can't see Michael Keaton necessarily wanting to play. Like, I can see him wanting to come back for a movie, but not necessarily spend the rest of his life playing Batman. He's a great actor. He's got other stuff to do. So I guess we'll see what happens. You know, it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with the Spider-Verse stuff. And, you know, why are you going back to these old villains when you could create your own for the new universe? It's like, are you just like trying to skip that step and tap into people's, you know, nostalgic love for these old movies? It's kind of the same thing maybe that they're doing, but it's, again, it's just going to come out to how they end up doing it, what the repercussions are going forward. I'm very excited to see it.
Yep.
But I don't know. There's a lot of questions up in the air with the Flash movie, and it's one of the one of my most anticipated superhero movies of the next few years, because it's just, it could do anything, and we just don't know what it's going to do. So
now, they get, was it Ezra Miller that played the Flash? Is he?
It was Ezra Miller, and it will still be him in the solo movie. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure whether they were, you know, branching things out again or doing whatever they do. So no, that'll be that whole thing is going to be an interesting for someone not as tied into DC stuff. I'm still pretty excited for all that. So.
Yeah. And I don't know, because you're not tied into DC stuff, I don't know if you know that last year when the CW did a big Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover with all their shows, Ezra Miller appeared as the Flash in that crossover and talked to Grant Gustin's Flash, and they were like, whoa, how is this happening? Like, they had an on-screen thing together. So part of me really thinks that scene is going to be in this movie also, just from a different perspective. Like, he's traveling through multiverses and meets... I'll be shocked if it's not, frankly, because at the time we heard that it was Warner Brothers that asked CW people, you know, Greg Berlanti and his team, say, can you put Ezra Miller in the show? They were like, yeah. Sure. Like, it wasn't them saying like, hey, can we get Ezra Miller? Like, it was the studio's idea. It was the movie people's side's idea. It was their side's idea. Mm-hmm. So that makes me think that scene is going to show up somewhere, or I don't know. I guess again, they can do anything. It's the Flash. It's time travel. It's multiverse. It could literally be anything.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at them, like, DC's rocking the whole, like you said, last year they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Marvel's going into Multiverse of Madness, and this whole, like, the things are getting, it's amazing to see how over the last 10 years everything has, for lack of a better description, gotten more comic booky. Because if you'd have told me after Iron Man that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was going to be a thing, what?
Yeah, it's insane. I think about that all the time. How when I was a kid, I was just dying for any kind of superhero content or adaptation. Like, why aren't they making movies about Spider-Man?
Yep.
And then, you know, they start, and then everything blows up, and now, you know, we're getting a live action Spider-Verse movie or whatever, or we got like just any of that, just like, oh, they're gonna do what? Thanos is gonna be in a movie? Like, that's just out of the question. Like,
doing Maximum Carnage
out of the question.
Like, doing Maximum Carnage as a movie. Like, what?
It's insanity. And like, this is old man Mike talking, but like, kids these days don't know how good they have it, because we were dying. You and me were dying for this kind of content when we were kids, and I think for us, really, it's hitting at the perfect time for us, because we're like, not elderly, so we're like, whatever, and we're
Mhm.
not too young. Like we're at the right age, so we appreciate the fact that we're finally getting it because we waited for so long. It's
Well,
just great.
and
I'm
both
sorry.
of us
That makes
too,
me feel
like,
old. I don't care.
right, to go on the nostalgia thing, like both of us are at the stage where we can, share it with our sons too, who both are at a very formative age. Like I sent this afternoon, I sent Mike a picture of my son playing with a little AT-AT, like Lego AT-AT, and the first thing he did was wrap a string around its feet, and I was just like, "This is great!" Like
That's
I was
instinct from you
beaming.
that
Yeah.
he's got. Yeah.
Yeah, he has an Empire Strikes Back book that one of our other friends, who also probably should listen to this podcast if he doesn't, um, basically like he gave it to us and as like a bedtime reader type thing, and he still has never read the last 2 pages of the book. But
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that before.
yeah, like
you gotta just like marker those out, just like take a Sharpie and cross out that line.
yeah, I probably should
No
do that.
spoilers.
Yep, yeah, just the couple of words there, and oh, he just fell down the shaft. I don't know what happened. So
Yeah. Well,
weird.
I don't know. There's a page missing. I don't know what happened.
Fergus, blame the dog
Yeah.
when all else fails.
Yeah. So anyway, we're living in. I mean, and we have been living in this golden age of superhero and comic book adaptation content, and it's also there's no signs of it slowing down currently anytime soon, which is just to me music to my ears. I know a lot of people are sick of it. I don't care. I love it. I want more. It's really all I want to watch or care about. So
Oh yeah.
bring it on. Speaking of which, a moment ago I mentioned how it's insane that we got an Into the Spider-Verse animated movie. We're getting a Spider-Verse-ish live action movie, we think. We're also getting a sequel to that Into the Spider-Verse movie, Oscar-winning Into the Spider-Verse movie. And we got the first real update on this movie this week in a long time. Issa Rae has been cast as the voice of Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, in the Into the Spider-Verse sequel. Issa Rae is the star and co-creator of a show on HBO called Insecure. And am I wrong, Steve? This is the first new character announcement for this movie that we've had, right? There hasn't been any update on plot or characters or like we knew we were going to get new characters because we got so many in the first one. We knew that they were just going to find new multiverses, right?
Right.
We haven't heard anything of confirmation about that yet, have we?
I don't think so. And it's weird that, people always assume Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, would have ties to Spider-Man. But it was relatively recently. Like, to have her in a Spider-Verse movie, like, that, either they're trying to push that hard, or they're just showing the breadth of, like, what they're going to be pulling from for the second one. Because, Spider-Woman and Spider-Man don't really have that much of a crossover. So
which is weird.
Yeah. It's like...
Yeah,
it'll be interesting where they go.
I don't know a ton about Jessica Drew. I haven't read too much with her in it. Stuff I've read, I thought she was cool, and I think she's got a great look. I like her costume a lot, but I know she has like kind of spidery powers, but she also has like energy blasts from her hands or something. Like I didn't do the research. I should have researched before this.
Well, and it's kind of like
before we went live, but
yeah, it's like I don't know, like a spider adjacent, if you will.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But kind of like how Miles has his, extra stuff on top of Parker's
Venom
standard
blasts,
powers, and every iteration has their own thing. But yeah, she's definitely her own animal when it comes to
exactly.
She doesn't quite fit into the mold of the rest of the spider peoples.
Right. And she's been a SHIELD agent, I know, in the past, so it'll be interesting to see if they are they bringing in SHIELD to this movie. Is that a sign that that's going to happen? I don't know. I'm just super excited about Into the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite superhero movies. Just full stop.
Oh, hands down.
So I'm so excited for this sequel that I'm just really grasping at any kind of news that they give us. I'm just really excited about. That they're giving us, they confirm that she's going to be in it is great. I think we all were assuming that Oscar Isaac was going to return to voice Spider-Man 2099 because of the post-credit scene at the end of the first one. And I still hope that happens. I'm just dying to know anything about this movie. And I just want it to happen right now. And we have a lot longer to wait, unfortunately.
Yeah, have they put a projected date or anything on it?
think I think there's a year. I think it's 2023. I don't think it's
Okay.
2022. It might have been 2022 and
Oh.
maybe they moved it, or maybe
just
it's
happened
21
to-
and they moved it to 22.
Yeah, I happened to click on that link. October 7th, 2022, after being delayed.
Okay.
So, okay, cool.
Okay.
I still can't believe the cast they got for the original one, so, more power to them for the second one.
No, we haven't. I think we assume that like the voice actors from the first one are coming back, but like, is Nick Cage really going to come back?
Right.
Spider-Man Noir? Is John Mulaney going to come back for Spider-Ham? Like, I guess I can assume we're going to get Miles. I mean,
Yeah, Shamik
definitely
Moore
gonna
will
get
come back as
Shamik Moore
Miles.
as Miles, right? Haley Steinfeld, like, she going to come back for Spider-Gwen? I hope so. I feel like they kind of teased a friendship and or maybe romance between those two at the end of the first one, so
Yep.
it can be assumed they're going to come back. Who knows?
And I
hope
believe you
they
mean
do.
Kate Bishop, not Haley Steinfeld.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. She's
She's all over the
pulling
place now.
double duty in the Marvel world now, isn't she?
Yep. And then I never realized until I read this that Chris Pine was Fat Peter Parker.
I know.
That
No.
was Oh, was
Chris
he the
Pine
original?
Was regular,
Oh,
normal
okay.
Peter Parker.
Gotcha.
The one that, spoiler alert, gets straight up murdered
Yeah.
by Kingpin.
Yep.
And that's Jake Johnson is the Peter B.
Oh,
Parker.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, crazy.
Which, quick, I mean, Jake Johnson obviously watches this show, listens to this podcast every week. Shout out to fan of the podcast, Jake Johnson. I will give him a shout out though, because at the beginning of lockdown, quarantine, whatever, when, COVID started being a big issue in the United States, he volunteered to give shout outs to kids as Peter B. Parker.
That's awesome.
Maybe. Yeah, it was great. And I sent him an email, despite my son at the time being 3
Yep.
and having not seen Into the Spider-Verse. He still hasn't seen it. We should probably show it to him. He still hasn't seen it. It was like, email this email address and I will send you back a message as Peter B. Parker. And so I have a recording of him saying, my son's name. Hey, it's Peter B. Parker. I know you're staying inside a lot. I'm staying inside too. I just want to check on you and make sure you're doing okay or whatever. And I was like, this is amazing. I played it for him and he's like, whatever, you're telling me it's Spider-Man. I don't care. I don't know what Spider-Man sounds like. Sure, whatever. But I was like, it's Jake Johnson recorded it. It's so cool. So yeah, that's a cool thing that happened in my life. Speaking of other cool things that are about to happen in our lives, Steve, I don't know about you, but I have been waiting a long time for an adaptation that I've been hearing about for a long time, an adaptation of a little story called Y: The Last Man.
Yeah.
My favorite comic stories of all time. And finally, we got a premiere date for Y: The Last Man on FX. I didn't write it down in the rundown. Why didn't I do that? September. I think it's September 13th, I believe. And if you click on that article, double check me. But this is something that's been classically in development hell, as the term, for years and years and years. It was going to be a movie at a time. Shia LaBeouf was rumored to be attached to the movie version, 15 years ago or whatever, when they were, after the series had originally wrapped, back when Shia LaBeouf was, an it guy, like a hot commodity in Hollywood. And, maybe he still is somewhat, but
he's a guy.
Certainly not the level that he used to be at. Yeah, he was, the thing for a while. And then it was going to be a series, and it got canceled at this network and got picked up at this network. And even at FX, it took a long time to get off the ground at FX. And finally, it's got a premiere date. I think they had some showrunners that got fired or that left the project because of disagreements with the network. And finally, we seem to be on track for what I think is a September release.
September 13th.
Y: The
was
Last
confirmed,
Man.
So
Is okay.
Yep.
Okay. You recently read Y: The Last Man for the first time.
Yeah,
right?
I've been excited about it for about 365 days at this point, assuming that's about when our post-trivia conversations turned to that, and I bought Volume 1 and subsequently bought Volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that was one of the easiest ones to hold my attention and read through. So yeah, that's going to be quite an adaptation. And if anybody, I know a lot of people stick to the big two, but like if anyone hasn't, well, I guess Vertigo is technically now DC,
Yeah.
but check out your indie projects too. Just PSA.
Blanket statement.
Yeah, the whole run of Y was just like captivating and just held you. And
Yeah.
as soon as you told me there was an adaptation coming, I was like, yeah, okay, can that be yesterday? That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. It makes way more sense as a series, I think. Of course, I would have been excited if they ended up making a movie out of it, but
No,
no,
finding a way to serialize it should be the way to go, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And this series, I didn't realize it stars Diane Lane, is Yorick's, the main character's mom.
Wow.
Yeah, so it stars Diane Lane, Ben Schnetzer, Amber Tamblyn, Ashley Romans, and Diana Bang, amongst some other characters. Diane Lane is the only real name, I guess, in
That's
that
a name.
lineup. But
It's a hell of a name.
yeah, it's a hell of a name, exactly. She goes from Martha Kent to Yorick's mom. I'm interested to see how they handle this material and what they do with it, because I mean, this series seen as very progressive. Those of you that may be listening that have never read Y the Last Man or heard of Y the Last Man, this is a series that takes place in a world where some kind of global event, they don't really ever tell you exactly what it is. It's like maybe it's a virus, or it's, you know, more than that, or something that wipes out everybody, all the men on Earth wiped out. Steve, side note, something just changed on my screen. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still kicking it.
Okay, that little indicator changed. It's just the two of us now. Anyway, okay, sorry for the people listening at home that don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so okay, some kind of global event wipes out every man on Earth, every being with a Y chromosome. So it's except one guy,
Right.
named Yorick, and his pet monkey. And it's about Yorick and his pet monkey kind of traversing a land of, you know, only women, and the different societal opinions on that some women have about why this happened and what they should be doing now. Some people would be very excited to find a man. Some people would want to finish the job, so to speak. So, you know, it's a dangerous life for Yorick Brown on the road in Y the Last Man. And it's a very well-written, incredible story by Brian K. Vaughan. It's definitely worth reading if you've never read it. It's also seen as like a starter comic. It's very accessible. You don't have to know, 80 years of Batman to understand what's going on.
Right.
So anyway, if you haven't read it and don't know what we're talking about, read it and know what we're talking about. But anyway, because of that, because it came out in like 2002, I think 2003 is when it started. The run started. It's a very progressive book, and it was seen as wildly progressive at that time. Reading it now, it still is very progressive, but there are some, society changes, people evolve, opinions evolve. There are certain words or terms that are used in the book that aren't really seen as being acceptable terms now. And the fact that now we look at gender as being fluid, as not being binary, it's not just men and women. There's a lot of gray area there. Some people don't identify as that. You identify as non-binary, what have you. How do they adapt a book that was written in a time when we still looked at gender as men and women? How are they going to address, or will they address, transgender people in this world? Because they kind of reference transgender people in the book, but I don't know. I don't know if that's. I don't know. I'm interested to see how they handle that. When it was written at a time when things were more or less looked at as black and white, and now we don't see it that way. How are they going to handle that? How are they going to address? Are they going to update it? I don't know. I'm interested to see.
Yeah,
so I guess I got a long time to say.
How they change it will be. I don't want to say it'll be a make or break, but it's going to be. It's kind of the crux of like how they can adapt it. Now, do you lean into, and this is for anyone who's listening, I'm a literal biologist by training. Like, do you lean into the whole Y chromosome thing and the biology of it, and then approach the societal stuff after, or like how do you set the stage for that? So how they address that is going to really change how the tone of the show is accepted and how the tone of the show is like the whole underlying tone of the show. So hopefully they nail it, but it's definitely going to be a tough one coming from 17 years of evolution of our thoughts on how you view things like this. So
and
hopefully
gender,
they nail
in
it.
general. And I feel like because it's looked at as such a progressive story for its time, but also now, I feel like if they don't nail that, like, they could do the strictly biological version, but that'll turn off a lot of people, I think.
Oh yeah. I don't in any way want them to do the like straight biological it's like hit that as how they died and then like evolve it into whatever, because right now 20 years on from when this was written is a very, very different time and very, very different things.
Yes.
And like you said,
now, progressive people are looking, trans women are women. That's like something
absolutely.
that progressive people think. Absolutely.
Yep.
Full stop. But if the show comes out and takes the biological route, then they're saying the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Which is not going to fly well with a lot of progressive people. And I don't know. I hope that they figure out a way to make it work.
God, now that you're saying that more, it's like,
it's
tough, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I think that's probably why it took so long to get off the ground.
Yeah.
And because if you really think about it that way, how do you do that? How do you make it work? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier than maybe you and I are making it seem harder than it is. I don't know.
Yeah, we could be looking into it way too much. We
also have a very different experience from the people we're talking about. So
absolutely. We're just two cis white dudes that are randomly talking about comic books. So
two cis white dudes with a podcast. Very hard to find nowadays.
There's none of them out there. None of them out there.
It's really why we started this podcast in general. We thought that the podcast space really needed more white dudes with opinions online.
We literally had that conversation about, do they really need that? So here we are.
But do we want to do that? Do we like talking about nerdy stuff and just want to do it anyway? Yeah, we do.
So here we are.
Hey, 6 subscribers.
Exactly. Woo! And
it's on YouTube. I don't know about podcast land, but that's YouTube subscribers.
There's like we're in at least double digits on the podcast end, so we're good there.
There we go. Thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
We have people that listen to this, which still boggles my mind, but hey, whatever. We will fully accept it. And things that we will not accept are Shia LaBeouf in Indiana Jones 5, which thankfully is not happening.
Great segue, Steve. Great segue. We got news this past week that Indiana Jones 5 will begin filming this coming week in the UK. Indiana Jones 5. How old is Harrison Ford? Do we know how he's 7? He's close to 80.
Gotta be close to 80. Yeah.
He's in his late 70s. You want to do a quick Google there and figure out how old Harrison Ford is?
He is born in 1942. He is 78 years young.
78 years old. We're going to watch a movie with Indiana Jones, 78 years old. What?
It was hard enough to watch him the last time he did it.
Yeah. Well, that was hard to watch for a couple of reasons the last time he did this. We're going to try not to get into that, really. Anyway, real quick, Indiana Jones 5 is going to be directed by James Mangold, not directed by Steven Spielberg for the first time. Slightly controversial, but I think James Mangold is a great director, so I think he's going to be a good fit for this material. Starring Harrison Ford, Mads Mikkelsen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Boyd Holbrook, and as you said, no Shia LaBeouf to be seen. Second mention of Shia LaBeouf in this podcast tonight, so
somehow
interesting. Somehow we did it. I don't know how that wasn't the segue between these two stories, but it wasn't.
I thought about it, but it would have cut off the prior conversation a little too early.
Yeah, more important conversation. Steve, what do you think about Indiana Jones 5? Are you excited for this? Are you
I don't want Indiana Jones 5.
Ah,
I love Indiana Jones. Like,
yeah.
the first trilogy, I will watch all the time. The fourth one, there was some problems. Um, the fifth one, like you said, Harrison Ford's 78 years old. How can
Yeah.
he be Indiana? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
there's nowhere for it to
he
go.
can be movie magic. They can, they can do a lot with. I don't know.
Yeah.
He is very old. I think we don't know what the story of this is. We don't know. I think Mads Mikkelsen's playing the villain. We don't know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is playing. We don't know who Boyd Holbrook is playing. There's
Right.
other people that are, in the top tier cast. As well. We don't know the story. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what the situation is. It could very well be written into the script that Indiana Jones is getting too old to go on these adventures.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it might be tricky to do that and then still make a good Indiana Jones adventure movie. We don't want Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Boyd Holbrook just be carrying around Harrison Ford the entire movie. That's not fun. No one wants to see that.
Yeah.
I think I feel like they have to reference his age at some point in this movie. It's crazy. And it's not that he can't, I like The Force Awakens a lot. I think he was good in The Force Awakens, but that was also 6 years ago or whatever at this time. And I think he looked good in Force Awakens, so he can still do it. He can still act if he puts his heart into it. Harrison Ford's always been somebody where you can tell if his heart is in a role or
100%.
it's not. Is he doing this for the check, or is he really invested in acting? He's a great actor when he wants to be a great actor, and I think he still has that in him. So as long as he's not phoning it in acting wise, I think this could still be good. But you're right. I don't know that I even want this movie. I'm very interested to see what it is, and I feel like I'm hoping that the fact that they're still making it after all this time. This is another movie that has been delayed and delayed and delayed, and even since Crystal Skull came out, since the fourth one came out, they've been talking about making a fifth one. That was 10 years ago now. I don't remember when Crystal Skull came out, but it was 10, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's been quite some time, and I hope the reason that it's still being made is that the script is really good. That's what I'm hoping. I know there's been a lot of rewrites and a lot of scripts. I hope the story is good enough to justify making a fifth Indiana Jones, because I don't necessarily want this movie either. And I hope they're making it because they know it's better than Crystal Skull. And if this is going to be the last Indiana Jones movie, they want it to be a good Indiana Jones movie. That's what I'm hoping.
And you put Mangold on it. What he did with Logan was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The guy can direct. You put Boyd Holbrook was, if anyone has seen Narcos,
Logan.
What's that? Well, yeah, he was in Logan too.
Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job opposite of Pedro Pascal in Narcos.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, had the lead there as the other American DEA agent, and was a solid actor. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah, she's great. Fleabag, excellent.
So there's a cast.
And Mads Mikkelsen can do anything. Mads Mikkelsen has been blowing up. He's been playing villains left and right for the last few years, so he's perfectly cast, I think. I hope it doesn't have aliens in it. I hope it's some kind of religious or mystical element and not necessarily sci-fi. I didn't think that really worked that well. A lot of people thought it didn't work.
Right. Go back for the Ark of the Covenant. We had fun last time you did that. Come on.
I know. Dude, I watch Raiders of the Lost Ark a lot. Put it on all the time. If I'm just bored at night and I was I'll just put on Raiders. It's a go-to chill out movie for me. I literally just finished watching it a couple nights ago.
Nice.
It's just so good. I'll watch that movie all the time. So anyway, like I just said, I'm hoping that they're making this movie because they know the fourth one didn't really serve the character or the legacy of that film series or that character as well as it should have. And this is going to be, we don't, for a while there was a rumor that it was going to be handed off to Shia LaBeouf and he was going to take the reins, but that movie severely underperformed. Shia LaBeouf's career took some turns. He's not really looked upon as fondly as he used to be. Although I did see him in a movie a couple years ago called Peanut Butter Falcon, and he was excellent. So it's not like he can't still act, but whatever. So maybe, I don't know if this is going to still hand something off to another character, or this is going to be the last, like, this is it. Harrison Ford's done, and this is going to be the last one we ever make of these until 20 years from now when we reboot that and everything else. Do you think there's a possibility that he dies in this movie? Like the character of Indiana Jones. Do you think there's a possibility that they kill him?
It's a recurring theme for Harrison Ford characters, so what the hell?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. This is like he's been doing like a goodbye tour of his famous characters, right? He came back as Han Solo.
Yep.
He came back as Deckard from Blade Runner in Blade Runner 2049, and now he's coming back as Indiana Jones.
Next year, you'll see a sequel to Patriot Games come out where he goes back through his tour as Jack Ryan and signs that one off.
Gonna make Witness Part 2. Yeah. Gonna make another Fugitive. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other Harrison Ford movies. Yeah.
God. Yeah, that's kind of where he's been.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what this is. I'm excited for it. I guess maybe excited is the wrong word. I'm
intrigued by it. Yeah.
Intrigued. That's the word. There you go. I'm very intrigued by it. And 100%, of course, I will go see this movie. There's no way I'm not going to. But I'm going to go in with pretty low expectations. Mm-hmm. No, you know what? No expectations. Not high, not low, just none.
I think I'm going to start referring to that as the Rise of Skywalker effect. Where I just went in with expectations. And there's a difference between subverting expectations and taking them and blowing them apart.
Yeah, see, I had a different experience with Rise of Skywalker. Oh, great. Now we're talking about Star Wars, so here goes the rest of the podcast. But I went into Rise of Skywalker with literally zero expectations. I was like, I'm 99% sure this movie is going to be almost nothing of what I want it to be. Yeah. What I expect it to be. So I'm just going to go in. I'm going to have fun watching a Star Wars movie. And that is the way I was able to enjoy Rise of Skywalker.
There you go.
Yeah. So we'll see if I can do that with Indiana Jones. Of course, we're a year out at least for a teaser or a trailer. They just starting filming. So it's going to be a while. He's probably going to be 80 by the time this movie comes out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Crazy. Now, you did say you're planning on having fun watching it and like trying to find a way to do that. So
absolutely. One
movie you will have fun watching, because there's no way you won't be able to, will be Thor Love and Thunder, which has apparently just wrapped.
I very much agree with that. I can't imagine not having fun watching a second Taika Waititi directed Thor movie. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Thor Love and Thunder wrapped filming this week. Both Taika Waititi and Chris Hemsworth shared a photo on their Instagram. See that photo?
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's arms just keep growing every single movie by like tenfold. I think they're the size of my thighs at this point, and I'm a former college football player.
I could not believe the size of his arms in that picture.
It's unreal.
I could not believe it. Like, unreal is the word. Like, bigger than my head.
Oh, it's fucking huge.
Insane. And what's really funny is I saw some people retweeting a different photo of him looking super jacked on Twitter. Yep. Where Chris Hemsworth is clearly somebody that skips leg day, because he is jacked. His arms are jacked. His chest is huge. From waist up, enormous. Bottom, skinny chicken legs.
That's amazing.
It is funny. It's legitimately hilarious. Like, how was those tiny legs supporting that giant upper body? And dude, you should probably do some leg presses.
Yeah, even that out a little, because you gotta you gotta support that upper body.
Exactly. Also, I noticed in the photo that Taika Waititi, it's a photo of Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi, although, all eyes go directly to Chris Hemsworth biceps, obviously. But the photo is the two of them standing together, and Taika Waititi looks like he's wearing a motion capture suit.
Yep. So when he was...
what's the...
Korg,
yeah, okay. Yep. I couldn't remember the name of his character. It seemed like he was wearing some kind of pseudo costume underneath, like... that looked like maybe it was supposed to be that character. I assume that that was he had dots on his face for the motion capture and stuff. So I assume that he's doing Korg. And I guess we assumed we knew he was playing Korg in the movie. I think they said that he was going to be back. So clearly it was a scene where between Korg and Thor from that picture. And Taika Waititi described Thor Love and Thunder as his craziest movie ever, the craziest movie that he's ever made. It comes out this May, so a little less than a year to wait for it. And like I said earlier, like The Flash is one of my most anticipated comic book movies. Thor Love and Thunder, just based alone on how much I love Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, also directed and written by Taika Waititi. Thor Love and Thunder is also one of my most anticipated comic book movies of the next few years, for sure.
Right. And you're talking about the guy who did What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People and Ragnarok and Jojo Rabbit, saying this is
Jojo Rabbit, yeah.
Fucking awesome
so
movie.
Good.
Saying this is his craziest movie he's done. Like,
yeah.
I'm in.
Not the
I'm
one
all
about
in.
the little boy with an imaginary Adolf Hitler friend.
Right.
That was not as crazy as Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah.
Right. That was perfectly normal compared to this. And also, on the recommendations front, if anyone hasn't seen Jojo Rabbit, go do it yesterday. Because,
oh my God,
it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. Amazing. Make you laugh and cry in the same minute. He's expressed that he took a lot of influence from the Jason Aaron run of Thor for this Thor Love and Thunder. We all know that Natalie Portman is coming back. We've seen, or I've seen, maybe, I think you've seen probably, I assume, Steve, set photos of Natalie Portman looking also pretty damn jacked.
Yep.
From the set of Thor Love and Thunder. They've pretty much confirmed that she's going to hold the mantle of Thor in this movie for one reason or the other for some period of time. I'm interested to see how they do that. Do you have any thoughts or ideas of how that's going to work out in the film itself?
I mean, they could go back to... I mean, there's plenty of comic influences with Jane Foster as Thor. I don't know how... I don't know if or what any of that will work with the way... Who the hell knows? It's Taika and...
I know.
Like, coming off of where Ragnarok went and how they've bent a lot of these storylines... The Aaron Thor run is considered by a lot to be like one of the seminal Thor runs.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm sure they'll find a way to do it right.
I mean, somebody can make a Holocaust movie and perform the role of imaginary Adolf Hitler and get away with it and win an Oscar for doing it. He's somebody that can figure out a way to make this craziness work. Slight spoiler alert for the Jason Aaron run of Thor. Thor becomes unworthy of holding the hammer and just becomes, gets stripped of the mantle of Thor and becomes just Odin's son, is referred to as Odin's son. And Jane Foster, well, it's a mystery for a while, but it turns out that Jane Foster is the new Thor. But she's also sick. She has cancer or something, right?
Yep.
I think in that run. And so she's impervious to that when she is Thor, but when she puts the hammer down and loses the power, she's just sick and suffering from cancer. And
it's a lot.
That's when Steve and I are saying that there's tricky material, that's kind of what we're referencing, is how are they going to balance that? Like, are they really going to give Natalie Portman's character cancer? That seems like a little delicate. I don't know.
Right. And you also have the original, the original Thor runs. You had the whole Donald Blake thing, and similar to what you're talking about, where if he put the hammer down, he was just a dude, or like.
That's true. And that's something that they haven't done in the MCU, which is like the dual identity of Thor. Thor is just Thor all the time in the MCU. There is no secret identity.
But they did have
human version.
The whole like him stripped of his power thing. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of curious if they go down that rabbit hole again. Maybe it's something where he's incapacitated, and she takes up the mantle or something along those lines. I don't know if they would take, like, the whole being worthy thing has been, that's been a through line through the whole thing. I mean, Cap pulling Mjolnir at the end of Endgame, like that. Spoilers, sorry. They like when
You haven't seen the highest grossing movie of all time. Sorry for that spoiler.
yeah, exactly. The whole worthiness thing, like they played it out in Thor. They played it out all throughout, you know, the party scene in Age of Ultron, the
Yeah.
cap at the end of Endgame. Like there's that's already been played out. Do they want to go back to that well, or are they going to go somewhere else? So
Yeah.
there's some confusion as to what would cause Jane to take the mantle, but
Right.
there's enough through lines that they'll probably find a way to do it cleanly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get into it. It'll be interesting to see how they get out of it. At the
Yeah.
end of this movie, is she not going to be Thor anymore? Are there going to be two Thors? Or
Right.
is she not going to be like, you know, why would she feel, I guess, enough time has gone by since we've seen Natalie Portman's Jane Foster that there could be any explanation as to how her character has changed in that time that we haven't seen her.
Right.
But the way that they set her up in the first two Thor movies doesn't really seem like she'd be somebody that would be chasing superpowers. Really? To me, it doesn't seem like she's like, be that hammer. I want to be a superhero. Like she wants to be a scientist and help the world that way.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's
might-
going to be all about how they get her there. And you know, Taika Waititi, one of the most creative filmmakers around, and kind of outside the box minds in film, I think currently. If there's going to be someone that can figure out a way to make it and make that happen and make it make sense, it's going to be him. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And again, based on Ragnarok, if this is like a level up from Ragnarok, then I'll be there day one, front row for this movie. I can't wait. Cannot wait to see this movie.
Absolutely. Now, continuing discussions about great minds in cinema. Apparently, Seth Rogen is rebooting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again for the 7,000th time. So, what do you think, Mike? What do you think?
Well, I think they announced that he was involved in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot a while ago, like a year ago or so. But this week we got a date for it, a reboot of 2023. It's going to be an animated movie, and the only thing that's been said about it really is going to focus on the teenage aspect of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I kind of think is a good idea. Because if you want to attract a younger audience, like the original cartoon that you and I watched when we were kids, you know, they were teenagers and they were careless and they were young and they were goofy and they made jokes and stuff like that. And there's been a few times they've been adapted to be more like darker and more serious. I didn't see the Michael Bay ones. Did you see the Michael Bay ones?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
If you find a, thunderstormy day this summer, they're worth tossing on for an hour and change and probably forgetting about the last part in general. Normal Michael Bay movie. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I know the original comic, they were like a darker team, which is cool, but like I think the franchise blew up when they were made more kid-friendly. And I think that's probably what the studio is chasing. The Michael Bay movies didn't do the numbers or have the success that I think anybody really expected them to or wanted them to. I think it's a good idea for them to focus on a teenage thing and make them goofier, make them younger, if they want this to be like an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
What I would rather have, you asked me what I think, what I would rather have is I would rather have a live action movie, but not have them CGI, have them in animatronic turtle suits like the first couple movies that I saw when I was a kid. I'm sure it's more expensive to do, but I think the way technology has progressed since then, I think it would look great. I think it would be super cool. It could be kind of like weirdly realistic looking almost, and that could be great. But, this is going to be an animated movie, so it's going to be something different. They did do an animated movie, I think, in like 2007, I think. Yes. It had like
I was going to say
it didn't blow anything up, but
that was actually really I thought that was actually really good because it kind of towed the line where the turtles were relatively, teenage centric, but the story itself was a little deeper and darker. and it towed that line nicely. Like, I thought that was actually going to be a very good reboot, and then they just never went anywhere with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's possible. It's definitely possible to thread that needle
Yeah.
of having them be like younger and goofy and fun, but also like take their jobs very seriously and know that there are real consequences for their actions and the actions of the villains or whatever. Like, you know, that's something that I think you can easily do. You know, and Seth Rogen is somebody that has had a lot of success as a producer, especially when it comes to comic book based material. Preacher, Invincible, this, you know, I mean, like that, like those two alone, and then he's jumping on Ninja Turtles. Like, yeah, I think it's a good fit. He's a funny guy. He understands comics. He understands humor.
Yeah.
He's somebody that can do this, and I think there's someone that can do it really well. So
I think you talked me into it. Because my brain, like, 36-year-old Steve wants the Eastman and Laird, like, dark and brooding turtles, like,
sure,
that whole get up.
Daredevil adjacent turtles, yeah,
exactly. Like, the turtles that were literally based off of Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen. But to take that and go that other route will get that whole nother, like, it'll hook people like us in, you know, the new generation of kids growing up, and that's probably the smart way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. The Ninja Turtles were something I loved when I was a kid. I was super obsessed with them. They weren't something that really transferred to my obsessions as an adult. Like, I really kind of stuck with like the superhero-y things, Superman, Batman, Marvel, you know, DC stuff. Turtles didn't really transfer to me. It's something that I do think fondly about them, but I've never been interested. Like the 2007 movie, I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'm not going to see it. Michael Bay movies, I was like, this looks like a Michael Bay movie. I'm not going to see it. All it would take is like a good look, a cool story, like something that makes me excited about them again, and I'll be back in for sure. This is possible that this could be it. Like, again, we don't know. Just because it says they're focusing on teenage doesn't really mean they're doing it for a younger audience. It could be for like, you know, you never know.
Well, the question too would be, do they draw, like, IDW still has a running Turtles comic?
Sure. Yeah.
And last year, I think they introduced a fifth turtle, a female turtle. And it was actually, like, though I read the first couple issues of that, and it was a very solid run. And I'm curious if they, you know, take that as the base, or they go back to the original source, or, you know, they've tried to introduce new female turtles at various points. This is kind of the first one that's like, Ben, no, this is a member of the team, and here you are, and like, there's five turtles on the team now. So that could be a whole
something like that
reboot.
would be super interesting. All you need is a new interesting take to get me back in, really. I mean, these are characters that have been in my heart since I was probably 7. So, you know, just because I haven't like been super interested in them, you know, you could pull me back in as long as you got a good take, and hopefully, you know, if Seth Rogen's got a good take, then I'm back, baby.
Definitely.
So I'll be interested to see what this looks like. Obviously, we're a while away. You know, it's 2023, so it's going to be a while before we get any images or trailers or anything like that. But I'm interested to see what happens, what comes out of it for sure. So, moving along to something that we don't have to wait too much longer for. Actually, we don't have to wait at all because it's already on Netflix. Adaptation of Sweet Tooth premiered on Netflix this past Friday. This is a DC comic by Jeff Lemire, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. Sweet Tooth is a book that I've seen for years in comic book stores. Never picked it up. Don't really know anything about it. I heard they were making a series. I was like, oh, that's cool. Then I was like, oh, it's coming out 3 weeks from now or whatever, like a month late. Like I saw like some kind of update. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was coming out so soon. I subscribed to the DC Infinite comic app, and they put it on there shortly after the series was announced. Dove into it. Pretty quick read. Love it. I haven't finished the initial run, but I'm maybe about halfway through. It's great. I highly suggest reading it if you have access to it on Comixology or DC Infinite. The comic it's almost like Walking Dead. It's I don't know, something else. I don't know, something else with animals. That's hard to tell because there's like a plague.
Ninja Turtles?
I don't know. Yeah, not quite Ninja Turtles. I don't know. I should have thought of a better analogy, and I can't right now. I know it did remind me of Walking Dead because it's like people, on the road, more or less, trying to survive. Details are different. Other than that, and it's pretty dark. It's pretty gritty. It's pretty R-rated. I've only seen the first episode of the series so far. But they're definitely taking a more PG-13 approach. Have you had a chance to watch any of it or anything? I don't know if you've seen it.
I until about 3 seconds ago, I had no idea it had actually premiered. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was actually up yet. I knew, I had heard that Robert Downey Jr. and his wife were like part of the executive team and working on it and but had high hopes for it because I had heard nothing but good things about the book. But no, I had no background on it at all. So
yeah, long story short, there's a plague, a sickness that people don't know why it's happening. Just people start getting sick. Some people are getting sick. Some people are, surviving longer. Nobody knows why. No one knows what's causing it. Around the same time that people start getting sick, babies start being born with like hybrid baby, animal human hybrid babies start being born at the same time. And the animal hybrid babies are immune to the sickness. They don't get sick. So hybrid babies are very sought after for what you can imagine.
Everything under the sun.
Things like that. Blah, blah, blah. Not giving too much. I'm not giving much away by saying that. As far as the comic goes, maybe the show might be saving some of that. Sorry. Spoiler alert. Retroactive spoiler alert for the show. Haven't gotten too far in the show yet. Down the road is that as far as the comic goes. So it's a very interesting story because there's the main character is a little boy, 9-year-old boy named Gus with antlers and deer ears, and he's trying to survive this world, basically, more or less. The show's very good. It's definitely more of a PG-13 adaptation, but in a good way. It's the kind of thing where we've seen people try to adapt frame for frame comic books to the screen. It doesn't always work. Like, you have to change it a little bit. You have to kind of tweak things to make it work in a different medium, because comics are a different medium than TV, than movies. It's weird to make it the exact same thing. It's almost impossible, and have it work. So this is, they are fleshing out characters, taking kind of different points of view for certain characters, or weaving them together in different ways so far. That really is just, for me, again, I've only seen the first episode, elevating the material for televised medium instead of a comic book medium. Based on one episode, I would very much recommend it to anybody who's interested in this kind of post-apocalyptic survival thing. And again, it's PG-13, so it's not like AMC's Walking Dead with tons of gore and violence so far. Who knows? And I would also highly recommend the book. Like I said, I'm probably halfway through the initial run. I think the initial run went from 2009 to 2013. It's a very quick read. I'm, blazing through issues when I am reading it. Highly recommend it. Jeff Lemire is a really great writer and storyteller, and cool art at the same time. So yeah, all that's, and it's Netflix, so they dropped the entire series at once. I think it's maybe 10 episodes. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Check it out, people. If you get time, check it out. The book, if you want to, read the book before you crush the series on Netflix, do it up. Hopefully we get a season 2. I don't know where the series is going to stop, but I know the initial series ran until 2013, and then just last year, a sequel series started called Sweet Tooth: The Return, and that's going on currently. So there's clearly more material to mine from if the series ends up tackling the entire first run. But it's great. Check it out, people.
No, it's definitely it's on the list. After I'm currently working through after last week's conversation, Titans. So
nice.
Yeah, I made it through 9.5 episodes. So
wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
what do you think so far?
Doug wakes up nice and early in the mornings. So it hooked me from the get-go. Like it's
great.
It's a very very good like I had, you know, the basics of the Teen Titans and all that, and to take it from, like, for one, to not do the teen version of it and just have a couple of the members, you know, Beast Boy and Raven being the teen members, and then the rest be established in their, you know, personas. It's definitely a unique and kind of cool take on it. And, you know, I'm half an hour away from the finishing of season 1, so it's like I'm definitely at a point where, for one, I wish I'd have been able to finish that off and not left hanging in the middle of an episode. But it's been a good ride. I would highly recommend it to most people.
I think the only thing, like I mentioned that a friend of ours who doesn't read comics at all and doesn't really know much about superheroes outside of, you know, Iron Man and Batman or whatever, watched it and loved it. And I think, you know, I love DC. I love like the Teen Titans Go, I think is a hilarious show. So I've experienced multiple versions of this team in different media or whatever. I think the only reason that I didn't love season 1 is that I just wanted them to be a team immediately. Okay. And I was like, okay, I get it. You have to meet each other. Fine. Just become a team already and fight somebody. Like, that's what I want to see, which is why I liked season 2 much better, because they already have relationships. They're like established and they're like, you know, more or less ready to go. But still, I enjoyed season 1. If you like season 1, I'm glad you like it. Keep going. Season 2, I think, is much better. And like we talked about last week, season 3 coming out this summer. So
nice.
You got to go. Plus, if you're that far into season 1, you got that Doom Patrol tease already.
Oh yeah.
So you got to jump on Doom Patrol next, because Doom Patrol is honestly one of my favorite comic book adaptations, bar none. So good.
Nice. Very nice.
Speaking of comics, and we've been doing a lot of referencing to comics this episode. We're gonna talk, as we end up every episode, talking about straight up comic books, because that's where all this stuff comes from in the first place. You wouldn't have any of these great TV shows, great movies without actual comic books.
Yep.
Greatest storytelling medium on the planet, in my opinion. We got a couple big announcements this week from Marvel. We got a new team on Venom. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman have been on Venom, and, you know, some like Splinter books, and, you know, doing the massive King in Black crossover event series. Donny Cates has been writing Venom for a long time, and they finally announced their run is going to end on Venom, and it's going to be helmed by 2 writers, which I think is odd. Al Ewing is coming off of Immortal Hulk, and Ram 5. I think it's Ram 5. It's just a V, but I'm pretty sure it's a 5 and not a V. I don't know. Never heard it said out loud. I've only read the name.
Right.
Ram 5, who is currently writing Swamp Thing, Justice League Dark, and Catwoman for DC. He's also got a great book that he's writing for Boom Studios. So he's a busy dude.
Seriously.
Al Ewing and Ram 5 are writing, and art is going to be from Brian Hitch on a new Venom. How much of Donny Cates' Venom stuff have you read?
Cates' Venom I read a good chunk of. I fell off probably COVID era, but like Cates knows Venom. Side note, if people haven't read Cates' run on Thor, like I think he's currently running Thor.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely nailing it. Cates in general, I really like, and there's a couple interviews I've listened to with him where he seems like a damn cool guy. So it's he's everything he's been on, I've been a pretty big fan of. Venom in general, I have never been intrigued too much by, but with him at the helm, it was solid. So
I read they did a mini series called Absolute Carnage like a year ago or year and a half ago, I think. That started, and that was great. I really liked that a lot. And that was the first Like we've said, I think in every episode, you're more of a Marvel guy as far as
Yep.
comics. I'm more of a DC guy as far as comics. So I don't pick up.
You there, Mike? Hello. Stand by for technical difficulties. Okay. Well, hold on, folks, and we'll see what we can get. See what we can get back here. Well, you're waiting. If anyone's waiting. I don't even know if anyone's watching. Let's see.
Hey,
And we're back. So, since I don't have any screens to send us to transition, we're still live. So, what the hell?
oh, great, great. So you were live for that 5 to 10 minutes that I was restarting my computer.
Yeah, I was just kind of vamping with it. It's fine.
Cool. Can't wait to see what you said about me while I was gone.
It was
Sorry
mostly,
to the
Mike,
audience, my
Mike, where are
computer
you?
froze completely. I had to completely shut down my computer. I couldn't just restart the app that we're using or anything. It had to be a complete hard reset. Sorry about that. I was talking about Venom and Donny Cates.
Absolute
and,
Carnage, I think you were on.
Absolute Carnage was great. I hadn't bought a Spider book in a while, and I thought it was great. I guess that's all I was really saying. So I kind of got thrown off my momentum, though.
Oh, there was such a cliffhanger for that, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry. What's he gonna say?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
he liked it. Great, big deal.
Yeah. So the Thor run, the Kate's Thor run, like, yeah, that's well worth checking out too. I think so. Ewing and him swapping is kind of weird because the two books definitely had a different vibe. And I'm curious where Kate's will take. Oh, so I don't think we actually mentioned it. Kate's will be taking over Immortal Hulk. So
Yeah,
that's
which is weird because Al Ewing was writing Immortal Hulk
Yep.
with Joe Bennett on art, and Al Ewing is one of the writers taking over for Venom, and Donny Cates is taking over for Hulk when Immortal Hulk ends its run. And Immortal Hulk has been an incredibly popular, incredibly brutal
Yeah.
book. I read the first volume of it. I thought it was excellent.
Yep.
Like straight up, like kind of like body horror-esque, like, you know, Hulk grappling with life and death and what it means to be immortal, you know,
Yep.
really. Like, I'm the
Yeah.
Hulk, no one can kill me. Like, what effect does that have on the mind of Bruce Banner? Like really crazy, great stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, the new book is just gonna be called Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
No superlative, not incredible, not immortal, just Hulk. And yeah, written by Donny Cates and drawn by Ryan Otley, who is a great artist as well. And I don't know. I kind of pop in and out. So I read a little bit of Immortal Hulk. It wasn't like I read the entire line. I like Hulk a lot. Hulk's probably one of my favorite Marvel characters. I just like the uncontrollable nature, the Frankenstein monster angle, which I think Immortal Hulk kind of lead into a little bit more, and they don't do that all the time. So I'll be interested to see what kind of take they have on Hulk for sure. But it's going to be interesting because what does the Venom guy have to say about Hulk? It'd be cool.
Yeah, and it's like you said, Hulk when he's done well is like it's a great book. So
Yeah.
And Otley actually, what was he? He was doing, I think he was on Amazing Spider-Man up until now. So
Yeah,
he
that
might have
sounds
been
right.
penning the Spencer run there. So yeah, that'll be a good combination between him and Cates. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's always interesting when a writer that's been on one character for so long that they become kind of intertwined and defined
Yep.
with that character or associated with that character, jumps to another character, like you're going from Venom, super popular character, to Hulk, arguably more popular character, more well-known character.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what is this gonna? It's always kind of exciting and interesting to be like, how's that gonna translate really?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm excited about it. Also this week for DC, I put out their Pride anthology book for Pride Month. Very upset. My local comic book store was sold out of it. So if you're excited about the DC Pride book, get out there and look for it now if you didn't add it to your pull list, because it might already be gone, and I'm super bummed about it. But I know both DC and Marvel are doing like variant covers for all their books, or a lot of their books in the month of June that are like Pride related covers. So those will be cool. Look out for those as well. And real quick, I just want to give a shout out. Another book that came out this week. It's just Batman. Just boring old Batman. Nothing. The same title that's been going on for 80 something years.
Right.
But I just want to mention James Tynion and Jorge Jimenez are on this new run of Batman. They took over for Tom King when his run ended in controversy. Tom King had a lot of ups and downs in his run. I didn't love the ending of it. Long story short.
His stuff, King stuff can't all be winners.
Honestly, some of his issues of Batman are some of the best issues of Batman I've ever read. And then towards the end, I was just like, what is this? What are you doing, buddy? Come on. The current run, James Tynion and Jorge Jimenez, like their run is just super cool and creative. They're introducing so many new characters to the Batman mythology. And what's interesting about that for me is that, well, the setup is different. Like, at this point, Bruce Wayne has lost a majority of his money. He's not a billionaire anymore. He doesn't have, spoiler alert for Tom King's run. Spoiler alert. Alfred's dead. He doesn't have Alfred. He doesn't have Wayne Manor. He doesn't have billions of dollars. He's living in he's got like secret, makeshift bat caves that were set up around Gotham City. He's working out of one of those, like in the basement of a townhouse, basically. And he's got to figure out how to be Batman without billions of dollars and unlimited resources and a butler to help him at every turn. He's got to figure that out for himself. At the same time, they're introducing these new characters that are like younger and having a different perspective. You know how when your dad tries to tell you that, whatever band that he grew up with is like the greatest, this is real rock and roll or whatever. This is real music. And you're like, yeah, whatever, Dad. That's the kind of look that these new characters are taking at Batman. Like, there's a character like Clown Hunter, is this guy whose parents were killed by the Joker, and he puts on a helmet and has a homemade axe or weapon that he made out of a baseball bat and a batarang that he found at a scene. He's trying to kill the Joker, and he's trying to kill Joker's henchmen, murder them, which is something Batman doesn't like, but Batman also feels responsible because if he hadn't killed the Joker, then his parents would still be, whatever, all that whole, kill him or not kill him conflict. But he looks like there's so many characters that have been introduced in any superhero comic or Batman comic that are introduced as like, I'm inspired by this hero. I want to be like this hero.
Yep. And
James Tynion is introducing these characters that could care less about Batman. They're like looking up like it's your dad's favorite rock band from the 70s that you don't care about at all. And you're like, yeah, whatever, old man. Why should I care about that? This is what's new and important. Like, this Clown Hunter character is like, yeah, whatever, Batman. I don't care about you. You're an authority figure at this point in Gotham City. I don't respect you. I don't care about you. And like several characters are like that. There's a character named Ghostmaker. Clown Hunter, Ghostmaker, which is like an old, used to study with Bruce when he was training with, the League of Assassins or whatever. And like, he's got his own ethos and way that he's fighting crime. Characters like Miracle Molly, which are, trying to kind of undermine, not undermine, but like improve the city, but like through underground means. And like, they look at Batman as like an established authority figure. It's like, I don't know. It's that analogy of that's the only thing I can say. And it's just cool, like, to see Bruce Wayne and or Batman have to deal with these characters that don't look at him with awe and don't look at him with the respect that, Robin would, or, Huntress, or somebody like that would like really respect the symbol of the bat in Gotham City. They're like, yeah, whatever, old man, I don't care. I'm gonna go kill these Joker henchmen because hey, you don't kill them and they keep killing people. I'm gonna take care of this because I don't respect. Like, just it's a cool challenge. It's like a moral challenge for Batman. It's like, how do I win over these youngsters? I don't know. Like, it's just something I've never read in a book, and having to deal with not having all the money and resources at the same time. Very interesting, and he's just like really cool characters that he's introducing, I think. So just shout out to the regular Batman run. It may not, I don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't end up being some landmark run. There's certainly been some super high highs, like Joker War, I thought was really great. And who knows in the long run. I've heard James Tynion, in an interview saying that like he's trying to push the timeline of Batman further than they've ever gone in the comics, which is interesting to me too. So like, how far down that timeline is he going to go? Batman is perpetually 35, 45 max years old. Like, we'll see how far he gets and how much he evolves the character. So I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm still excited about. And he's reinventing the character in a new way. When someone takes over a run, especially like somebody like Donny Cates, who's been writing Venom for so long and doing such a good job, you're like, I don't know, am I going to like the new guy? And then it's like a new take, a new twist. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not, and
Tynion's pretty busy too, it seems, between that and Something's Killing the Children. So
yeah, he's got a lot of irons in the fire, for sure. And I look at that, like that Ram 5 or James Tynion will sometimes post on Twitter like, hey, these are all the books that I'm writing that are coming out this week. I'm like, how are you writing 4 different books at the same time? Like, that's insane to me. Like, I can't possibly imagine what it's like to jump back and forth between, like Swamp Thing and Catwoman and Venom. Like, those are like so radically different characters that they have to be treated in different ways. I don't know.
Well, that's
full respect to anybody.
Cates right now he's on Thor, and like I said, he's on Thor, he was on Venom, and like he was doing the King in Black stuff. So it's like, okay, let's see how we juggle this. And
I mean, I guess if you do it long enough, you get good at the juggling of it. Tom King's writing Rorschach, he's writing Batman, Catwoman, he's writing a Supergirl anything that's going to come out soon. So like, he's another one that can just juggle a ton of titles at the same time. Good for him. Yeah. Are you reading anything incredible right now that you would recommend or that you want to talk about?
Currently, I'm just kind of catching up on the X books because I had put down my Marvel Unlimited for a bit. So catching up on the post post any of the Excalibur run into the pre Hellfire Gala stuff. So I just want to make sure I'm set up for the Hellfire Gala, because God knows what the hell's gonna come out of that.
Is the Hellfire Gala? What is that? It's just they're all at a party. Is that what that story's gonna be?
Yeah,
because I'm down for that. Like, that's appealing to me. Just watching them all hang out together. Like, yeah, absolutely.
I think there's that, and then there's going to be plenty of other side threads, and Sebastian Shaw can't do anything without some nefarious plot to do whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Finally, so I'm going through each book individually instead of just sticking to the reading order, but like just finished catching up on Wolverine, catching up on X-Force right now. So it's anything like right now, Wolverine and Omega Red are doing their thing, which is always interesting. So
I always, every time I'm at the comic book store, I know this is like a problem that has happened for years and years and years. I always think about trying to get back into X-Men.
Yep.
And I just look at the 15 different X books that are on the shelf, and I'm like, this is overwhelming. I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that was why
it's a thing where I feel like you got to dive in and stick there. Like, that's just what you got to do.
I got back in with the House of X, Powers of X. I had been out for a while. Actually, it wasn't House of X. It was the Uncanny relaunch, because Uncanny was what I cut my teeth on. Uncanny X-Men. Like, that was my jam back in the day. And they had been doing all the teams, the blue, red, gold, whatever. And when Uncanny relaunched, it was kind of the precursor to the clean wipe with House of X, Powers of X. It was like finishing up the old and starting the new. Nice. And so I kind of got in there, and then once it branched into 10 books, I basically figured out which ones I actually wanted to follow. But if you hadn't been following the story, you have no clue where you actually want to go and which ones are going to suck. So I totally get where you're at with that. Like,
and that's been a problem with X-Men forever, because there's so many storylines. It's all crazy.
Yep.
It's hard to even when there's a reboot, like when Hickman took over, it's like, well, there's still some mythology. He's not like wiping away all of history, so there's some stuff you have to know. Baseline stuff you got to know to get in, and some more than baseline stuff that will help you. But anyway, well, that's cool. I'm glad that you're digging in and catching up and enjoying it.
Yeah, Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, a podcast I listen to. They're absolutely phenomenal. But
nice.
They've been going back through from the beginning of everything all the way up through, they're like maybe into the 90s now, and they've put out like years of episodes. But and ultra detailed. But they describe it as everyone's favorite superhero soap opera, and it really, like,
for sure,
that's the best way to describe it, is like, there's just so many threads and so many stupid interactions and relationships and whatever, that it's like, okay, you can always jump in and out. All comics are
soap opera, but all comics, I think, have a soap opera tendency, but X-Men, I feel like, is like just a little more dramatic.
Yep. Always.
Or it should be, or I feel like it lends itself well to that.
Yep.
That style of writing. So, cool, man. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I think I'm good here.
All right. Sorry for the extra long time. Sorry again for my technological difficulties. Went a little long because of that, but thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking around. And Steve, I'll let you do the standard wrap-up stuff, because I still don't know what to say.
Sounds good. If you guys like to subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell if you subscribe to know when we go live. Any podcast catcher podcast app should be able to point you in the right direction if you search for The Multiverse Report. We are themultiversereport@gmail.com, on Twitter @multiverserpt. And get a hold of us. Let us know what you want to hear. If you want to hear anything, if you don't want to hear anything, whatever, just subscribe. If you get a chance on iTunes or any podcast app of choice, please rate and review us. Helps the algorithms out, suggesting us to other people. So on top of that, that should be the best way to get a hold of us, to my knowledge.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, we'll see you next time on the Multiverse Report. See you later, Steve.
See ya.